Hello, my name is John Copeland and I'm with 51 Blocks SEO. Today I'm here to discuss with you a concept called content frequency and how you can leverage freshness of content to your advantage for search engine optimization goals. What is content frequency? Content frequency is a metric that determines how often you're adding new and fresh content to your website. How do you go about adding new and fresh content to your website? The most common way by far is a blog. And that's why you'll see a lot of websites have a blog with up-to-date information, because it's a way to easily post something today about something current in your industry or something upcoming in your industry, and is a vehicle to get re-indexed by Google. Articles can serve the same purpose, and you'll find a lot of times that websites have an article base where they are regularly contributing some level of expert opinion to help engage their readers with new content when they come through and see their website. You can add new pages to your structure. Just because you have your navigation in a position that you like today doesn't mean you should be thinking tomorrow, how can I make it even better, more expansive, more engaging for the visitor, whether that be deeper detail or wider coverage of keywords or just additional information about trends in your industry today that might have been different than last week. So adding new pages to your structure is another great way to indicate to Google that you are a fresh content resource and are willing to update your website with real-time information. You can also take a page that currently exists and think about ways to expand that content to create better and more immersive experience for your visitor, whether there be a trend in your industry or just some place where you didn't quite cover a keyword as well as you should have. Adding new content to a current page is another great way to have Google come in and re-index that page and give you credit for fresh content. Now, why does any of this matter? Well, frankly, we can blame Twitter and the emergence of real-time vehicles to provide real-time information in a real-time way that Google was never going to be able to compete with. It's a completely different model. That doesn't mean that Google doesn't see the appetite for this type of information, and they've integrated it now into their algorithm in a way that if you can be fresher than your competition, Google will give you a leg up on current keyword rankings. So how do you go checking your competition and figuring out what it is that they're doing so that you know about what you have to do to compete or exceed their efforts? It's pretty simple, actually. Google gives you the information, and I'm going to show you just how to go looking for that so that you can determine what your level of engagement should be. Here in Denver, I'm going to search tree trimming, and we're going to look down past the pay-per-click ads and down past the local ads until we come across the first organic result. And here we find a company called Arborscape Services. We're going to take a look at Arborscape Services and get a little bit of a better picture of what they're doing with content frequency. To do so, I'm going to use Google's site colon search. You just type the word site, colon, and you put the domain after that. On this search, we're going to get some immediate information, including the fact that they have 1,420 results currently in the Google index. So they're a pretty robust site for a tree trimming site, to say the least. Now, what we're most concerned about is how many of those results have gone into the Google index recently. And the search tools button allows me to check not any time, because that's going to give me the history of all the pages that have ever gone into the Google index. I want to be more restricted than that, and I want to look and say, how many pages have they had indexed in the last 24 hours? Well, they're a tree trimming site, and unlike, say, CNN or ESPN.com, I don't expect them to be getting daily updates in the Google algorithm. And you can see that in this case, they have not had anything updated in the last 24 hours. How about in the past week? Well, when we look in the past week, we find that their tree care calendar has been updated 5 days ago, and that in fact they do have a fresh page in the Google index in the last week. We can even look back on the past month, and when we do this, we see it's not just in the last week they've added content. They've got 3 new pages that have hit the index in the last month, meaning that they're putting up a page about every 10 days. Now, this is a pretty robust schedule to try to keep, especially because as we look here, we see that these are all new pages and not necessarily blog entries. So their structure is changing. They're putting up winter tree service, which is very timely, obviously, as we're here in the holiday season. Certified tree safety professional, talking about how to become a certified tree safety professional. So they're going wider and deeper with their keyword coverage, which is an outstanding sign to Google that they're a fresh resource for content. So if I were a tree trimming service here in the Denver area and wanted to compete against these guys, I'd realize that I probably have to put 4 to 5 pages up a month to become a more fresh resource than the Arborscape Tree Services resource that we see here. So it's easy to go figure out how much content your competition is putting up, and it's the kind of thing that if you're willing to dedicate resources to do better than your competition, Google will recognize it and give you better rankings. Keep that in mind, and thanks for listening.